الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه حق قدر المقدار العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ونبيك ورسولك النبي العلمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد خير الناس وعلى سيدنا إلياس وعلى سيدنا خضر أبو العباس وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما يا حي يا قيوم صل على حبيبك سيدنا محمد وأغثني به وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما عدد خلقك ورضا نفسك وزنة عرشك ومداد كلماتك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you for being here this evening. This is the first in what will hopefully be a continuing series of gatherings and discussions, and I want to make sure that it is like it's a gathering and discussion. I'm not here to just talk at you endlessly. The whole purpose of this gathering is for us to engage in a dialogue about a number of issues, a number of matters that are of importance, again, to the community. This community, not only the community as it pertains to the Muslims, but the community in which the Muslims find themselves embedded. So again, the name of this event, series of conversations, Feed the People Wednesdays, community conversations, gather, grub, and gab. Not necessarily in that order, but those things, inshallah, they will occur. So we do have food here, so at least the grub part is taken care of. And we've got a space here for us to gather, so that's taken care of. So now the gab is what we must commence with. And so just to cover, again, the basic explanation as to what gave birth to this idea and the intention behind it. I've been involved with helping to run a program called Neighborly Needs, done under the auspices of Wasat, and it's been going on since 2019. And it involves partnering with a number of organizations, entities, businesses, individuals in preparing food and then making this food available to the community. And again, in doing so, it provides, I think, much needed input, business input for the folks who are preparing the food, who are adding value, if you will, to this food, and also providing I think an essential and beneficial service to the community, especially to folks who have challenges in having access to to good food that's nutritious and good for them. And I think the program took on that much more importance with the advent of the COVID-19 situation. So again, businesses are affected because they don't have the same degree of patronage and customers coming in, and then again, people or the general population's affected because they don't have access to to the food. And I think what's interesting about that particular circumstance is that it actually highlighted the cracks in the current system and the systems that we rely upon to provision us. So we saw problems in retail, places actually having food to offer to people, producers, the people that are actually growing the things and actually supplying the things that are provided to the retailers that are then made available to folks. And all of the different aspects of the logistics that actually makes all of that possible. We really saw the degree to which that system is very fragile, and especially living in a society and living in a time where most people are not involved or connected to the actual production or the provisioning of those things. We don't grow the food that we eat, right? We don't grow the fiber that makes our clothes. We don't make our clothes, by and large. We don't provide the materials that, is the basis for us having housing. We don't generate the energy that keeps the lights on and provides us heat in the winter and keeps us cool in the summer, or the energy that runs our transportation. So we exist in the world as consumers. And so if our means to being able to have access to these goods that we're consuming suddenly falls apart, right, or somehow fragilized, then we actually see the degree to which our own existence, our ability to exist, is actually very fragile. Right? It's quite dangerously fragile. So again, it called to mind a number of issues. I think another very interesting aspect of this, and this is something that had been folded into the Neighborly Needs program, was we started to actually have more interactions with city agencies, aid agencies, some of whom provided funding by way of grants that allowed for this program to be funded. And one of the agencies was the City of Seattle, Seattle Public Utilities Waste Management Division. And one of the problems, one of the particular issues that was highlighted was the fact that, again, living in a consumer societies tend to produce a lot of waste. There's a lot of stuff we tend to throw out. And in particular, a lot of that waste actually is food waste. And if you look at some of the statistics, it's actually quite stunning. Roughly 30 to 40%, somewhere in there, 30 to 40% of the food that is produced in this country is thrown away. Right? 30 to 40%. Now, this is a particularly interesting situation in the state of Washington. Now, there's something called the Use Food Well Washington Plan that has been published by the Washington State Department of Ecology. And when you go through that report, some quite stunning data is provided in it. And then again, this provides context as to why I think, again, this discussion that Charlotte will be able to have going forward is so important. So to provide context, and I'll be quoting directly the Use Food Well Washington Plan. Okay, the state of Washington's Department of Ecology has developed an initiative called the Use Food Well Washington Plan, which provides a roadmap to reduce food waste by 50% by the year 2030. As explained by the state agency, there is an ethical obligation to respect food, the people who grow it, and the earth that gives it to us. We all have an obligation to use food well. Food has intrinsic value. It nourishes us and is a cornerstone of all cultures. Despite this importance, food waste is a large component of Washington's solid waste stream. It's roughly 17% of all the waste that makes up the waste streams in Washington State, 17%. Washington is also experiencing unprecedented food insecurity with over 2 million Washingtonians. It's 26% of the population. It's more than a quarter of the population in the state. 26% of the population identified as food insecure or unable to reliably access a sufficient quantity of affordable, nutritious food in 2020. Generating food waste at a time of increased food insecurity is unacceptable. Also unacceptable are the wasted time, resources, and energy used to move food through Washington's food system. Washington must do better. The difficulties Washington faces in response and adapting to these challenges are rooted in long-standing vulnerabilities. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed existing weaknesses in Washington's food system and emphasized the need to strengthen the system's resiliency. Weaknesses and vulnerabilities exist across the food system and are amplified within overburdened communities. The UFWW plan includes 30 actionable recommendations to address these vulnerabilities by preventing, rescuing, and recovering food waste and wasted food. Together, the recommendations have the potential to meet Washington's 2030 food waste reduction goals and beyond, creating a more resilient and vibrant food system. Through comprehensive implementation, the recommendations in the plan would prevent, rescue, and recover an estimated, get this, the quantities are actually like what? 1.3 million tons of food waste in this state alone. 1.3 million tons. Not pounds, tons. It's 2,000 pounds in a ton, just so for those who are not clear. Do the math. Yeah, thank you. Do the math.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Is that covering the whole gamut from the production source and the farm
Yeah,
to the endpoint retail customers?
I do believe so, because we do know that roughly, roughly a third of what is produced on farms is thrown away.
Right.
Yeah. So 1.3 million tons of food waste each year from landfill disposal. A significant portion of this reduction, and this is where the opportunity, right? So there's the crisis. Now here's where the opportunity exists. A significant portion of the reduction, at least 295,000 tons per year of that 1.3 million, is estimated to be edible food, diverted to hunger relief or new markets. There's the opportunity. Almost 300,000 tons of food in this state, right, is edible. We found additional environmental, economic, and social benefits can be realized through comprehensive implementation, including a net financial benefit of over, get this, $1 billion annually. $1 billion annually. Also, if you go through the report, they also highlight the math related to, again, what that edible portion of the food waste stream can furnish in the way of meals. And it equates to roughly just under 500 million meals a year. Now, there's no reason, again, given those numbers, there's no reason that any person in this state, and again, you can put this on repeat for every state in the country, there's no reason why any person in this state should go hungry. None at all. Now, the kind of bringing this back to, okay, well, what does this have to do with this group, right? What does this have to do with the Muslims? Y'all are here. Like, y'all, you live here. And the question that comes to my mind is like, what is this community of which I am a part of, what are we doing about it? And the problem is, and this has been a problem for far too long. I've been Muslim for, it'll be 23 years this year. There are far too many segments of this community that is only concerned about itself. And not only concerned about themselves, but even the groups within the group are only concerned about themselves. Mm-hmm. And from what I've come to learn about the behavioral paragon, the personality who came to model how it is that we are supposed to be. He said, sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sallam, he said, I was sent as a mercy to all of the worlds. I was sent as, he's rahmatul lil alameen. Yani he was not rahmatul lil muslimin. And the reason why people responded him to the manner in which they did is because he demonstrated through his actions that he was concerned about everybody. Everyone. And you got to remember, in the beginning, and it's funny, I remember years ago, Sheikh Hamza said this after at Tarawih in Oakland. He said, you have to remember, in the beginning, yani, there was only one Muslim. There was one. He said, I want to write a book one day. He said, it's something about, how the Muslims were converts. Like all of them. Everybody. And I think one of the problems is like people have been Muslim for too long. And take that fact for granted. In the beginning, there was only one. And the reason why anybody else followed him is because he demonstrated through his concern for everyone. Like he demonstrated through his actions the degree to which he had a concern for them. He didn't talk it. It's through what he did. He gave everything he had. That's why people became Muslim. Right? So, and one of the ways in which this took place, and it's very basic, and Sidi Ahmed had related this hadith at the event we had at the Tilf during Ramadan. And actually, would you be so kind to relate it about, you know which one I'm talking about.
Which one? You have to remind me now.
About spreading peace, right? Afshu salam.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I forget exactly now, but I have to look at my notes. But yeah, spread peace, feed people.
Hey, what?
Just feed people. It was open-ended.
Right. Just feed people.
Pray while other people are asleep.
Right.
And enter the garden with peace.
Right. And he said to right, honor the wombs that bore you, meaning like maintain kinship ties. Hey, well, right. But everything that's described there is seeing other people as being worthy of your time and your effort to address their needs. Right. And again, it all condenses back down to what he said, sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, is our variant on the golden rule. And I think it's very interesting that it is a conditional statement. None of you truly believes unless, right, you love for others, you wish for others, you want for others what you want for yourself. Right? And so now, again, against that backdrop, and in the context that we find ourselves living within here, what does that look like? What does that look like? Given the challenges of the time and the place that we find ourselves, what does that look like? Right? What does that look like? And I think the reason why this conversation about food, I think is an interesting place to start, because I think that's a very easy one to have in terms of being able to understand the importance of it and the impact of it. Right? And the common thread that runs through anyone and everyone. Everybody enjoys and appreciates a good meal. Right? Everybody. And I think, again, just get based on what was related in the hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, that what would gain a person entry to the garden, like, and that is the goal. Like, that's where we're trying to get to. All right, well, what do I have to do to get there? Afshu salam, spread peace, 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 peace. Right? And then what? Feed people. Like, just feed people. This, y'all need to eat. I know you're hungry. A quick story. So yesterday we had to do, do food distribution a few times, a week. And actually a number of the places that I end up taking food to is the tiny house villages, in Oakland. I said Oakland, sorry. It's Seattle. And they're like 7 or 8 in the city here. And they're all managed through an organization called the Low Income Housing Institute. So usually I deliver to the ones in Othello Village, TC Spirit Village on Yesler. Then there's the one that's behind the AM/PM across the street from Garfield High on Cherry, Cherry and 22nd. And then what's the last one? Oh, Georgetown. Off of, what's that, Ellis? And then usually on my way to Georgetown, I see there's usually folks that stand at the exit, was at 161 off of 5. And typically if I'm coming back from if I'm going on my way to Georgetown, if I'm coming back, I usually stop and I give a couple of meals to, the folks that are there. And yesterday I was on my way over, and the person I usually see there, or the couple of folks I usually see there, weren't there. And there was a young girl that was at the intersection, and she was holding a sign, cardboard sign. She had written in marker, red ink, and it said, I only saw a portion of it, but I saw the first couple of words: hungry, pregnant. Like, would appreciate anything you could offer. So she's just like holding the sign, walking up and down. So I got out and gave her a couple boxes and chocolate. And I remember I got in the car and I went to drive off, and I could just see her like sit down, open the box and start eating. Now again, the thing that comes to mind, going to the point about none of you believe, right? Unless you wish for others what you wish for yourself. I'm always thinking, whenever I see a lot of these folks out here, folks in the tents, what would I want somebody to do for me if that was me? Like if I was in that situation, and there's nothing to say that, God forbid, hashalilai ta'ala, that I'm ever in a circumstance to where, kind of like you're that compromised. Would anybody think enough of me to stop and help me out? And I think that's the attitude, like, if you're in this place, and I think in particular in this city, I think that's the attitude that we need to have, whether or not they're Muslim. Whether or not they're like you. And I think what's so important, an important point to make about that is, what we're told about, and you see this in the example of the Prophet ﷺ, like he didn't only do good to people that were like him. And he did good to the people that were trying to kill him. Like for 23 years, they treated him like garbage. That's the test of character. It's to do good to people that are not doing good back to you, or you have no reason to really think about doing good for them. Like you're not worried about whether or not it's being reciprocated. It's the fact that we're doing it. It's the point. The point is to do good. It's to be good. It's to be muhsin, right? To be muhsin, right? To be magnanimous, right? To embody excellence, right? To be a vehicle for that to be brought into the world. Now, again, the reason why, again, I wanted to have these discussions, for this, again, Feed the People Wednesdays, it's all fine and well for us to kind of talk about this, but at some point, it has to translate into action, in which we think enough about the importance of what's being discussed that we actually invest ourselves, right, our wealth and our lives, right? We often see these phrases used into this engagement and deployment and realizing good in the world, right? Because we have resolved to be those agents, to be those vehicles for good. And that's what I'm interested in having a discussion about, is how are we able to gather the talent, the knowledge, the various pools of capital, right? Whether it's, financial, experiential, intellectual, cultural, social, what have you. How do we aggregate those things and then connect them and then make that available to people, right? Building something that is able to, again, bring this to bear on the community that we find ourselves in the midst of, because we are part of this community. And it's either better or worse for having had us here. And we choose whether or not it is better or worse for having had us here, for us being here, right? So that's what I want to talk about. So I guess with that sort of preface, I think there's enough, I think we have enough time, and there aren't so many people, or too many people, that we can't go around the room and perhaps get a bit of an introduction to all those in attendance. And I'll give you just a few short questions to ponder and provide answers to. And I usually ask these questions in my design courses. And I start off with, number one, who are you? Number two, where are you from? Number three, why are you here? Why do you think you're here? Right. Also, maybe before that, like, what do you do? Right. And then again, why are you here? Why do you think you're here? And what do you hope to gain? By being in attendance, right? And what do you hope to be able to do? What do you hope to kind of come away from this experience either being able to do, or again, knowing, or being inspired, right, to go and, hopefully do something to address the challenge that we're all presented with. So, perhaps I'll go from your right, my left. We'll sweep the room. So if you'd be so kind.
Yes. Hi, my name is Camille, and I am originally from Colorado Springs, Colorado. I am an administrative associate at Group Health Foundation, and I'm here today because I'm pretty passionate about food justice, but in general, I'm just really passionate about Black liberation and understanding that actually includes everyone as well. So that's where I'm at, and then of course just community and being a part of community and having conversations that also feed food outside of just food. I'm also here for the food.
There's no shame in that. You can admit that. That's all right.
That was the first thing
That's all right. That's all good.
Tuck it in for bed.
I'm not above bribing people with food. That's all. Got no problem with that.
We all love food. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you for being here.
I'm Kiki. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. A recent realtor, just started out here in Seattle. I'm here. My friend invited me to be a part of this, and being new here in the city, it'll be a year next month. Really just trying to, be a part of the community. Go to these events and have these conversations to see what I can do to be a resource to others that, not only look like me, but don't look like me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Greetings and salam. My name is Drew. I'm here with these ladies here, friends of mine. I'm from Everett, Washington, just north of here. I kind of have a recent background doing organic agriculture and landscape gardening. I have a little landscape gardening operation on the east side where we try and educate homeowners that growing grass is not as impactful and beneficial for them and their communities as growing food would be. So we're trying to push people in that direction of growing food. So I'm kind of interested in educating people in food production and how they can do that themselves in whatever means they have, whether it's a balcony, an apartment, or you have a big ass yard, you know. Anything you can grow food.
It's a technical term.
So like we were talking about bringing that production closer so people are more food secure and increasing their food security is very interesting to me. And the food was also insensitive.
Again, it's not that don't.
Appreciate the providers and the provision.
Alhamdulillah. And inshallah, we'll once he makes his appearance, we'll also want Chef Tarek to, you see, don't go too far, Sidi. You need to we need you present.
Food is a big blessing, like fundamentally to humans.
Absolutely.
This is all it's all good all the way through.
Absolutely.
So I'm here to support that, encourage that, be involved.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for being here.
So
I'm
I'm
sorry.
actually a food coordinator working with Rhamis.
Your name?
My name is Rhamis.
Rimsha. Assalamualaikum. How are you?
Nice to meet you all and see you all here. And basically I'll be helping combat food injustice and, looking at
Basically.
Simplify.
Yeah, you know, it's,
For y'all that don't know.
yeah, basically.
Real basic.
It's a small job. Thank you, Rimsha. Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Abdul. I'm from Belgium,
Hey.
but originally from India. I moved here in 2015. The reason for me to be here is to learn about the agriculture and the stuff, food shortening. I associate myself with Modest Family Solutions, an organization.
Oh, okay. So you know Adasha. You know Sister Adasha. Okay.
I work
So
closely with her.
okay.
And apart from that, as you mentioned, that hadith, which says like you choose for others what you choose for yourself.
There you are.
So I feel like it's my responsibility to associate myself with community and share what I have, so that like they can pass it on to others.
Hey.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So that's how it means.
Inshallah. Okay. Inshallah, when you go next time you see her, tell her Rhamis gives us salams, please. Fine. Thank you for being here.
Well, good evening.
Good evening, Dan.
I am called Mr. Dan. We'll leave it at that. It's the easiest one. Oh, let's see, born and raised in Seattle. And for the last 2 years, I've been handing out food in association with Sam over there in the corner, and with, I guess, what came out to be Wasat.
Hey.
So I'm doing it again this year over there in South Park. You know, one of them Western guys. But, you gotta live somewhere.
There you go.
So, the idea of salvaging this food that we throw away is really quite interesting to me, because I used to work in the garbage dumps.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And I watched all the garbage trucks coming in and dumping. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
What's even more phenomenal is there's a train that leaves Seattle every night.
And actually, that was the first when you mentioned that to me. I was quite stunned by that.
Mile-long train. It goes to Arlington, Oregon, because we have no garbage dumps here. We filled them all in.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
This is the problem.
Yeah.
We've got to spend money to grow the food. Then we've got to spend money to transport the raw food, get it processed, transport it out to the customer, and then we throw 70% of that away. Why don't we just throw the money away and be done?
Yeah, and I think just an interesting sort of complementary bit of information, a supplementary bit of information to what Dan just mentioned. If you actually look at some of the research that's been done on the sort of energy return over energy invested on food production, it takes roughly 20 calories, somewhere about 15 to 20 calories of energy to produce 1 calorie of food in the sort of industrialized kind of conventional food system. So that includes production, harvesting, processing, transport, and then also, distribution. And I can't remember whether or not they actually included the energy associated with disposal, right? So that's about, so a 15 or 20 to 1 ratio. And again, that's probably conservative.
Right.
I mean, that is incredibly inefficient. And what makes it even that much worse is the fact that it's subsidized. It's subsidized heavily, to the order of, in this country, of about $20 billion plus a year,
Well,
at
it
least.
doesn't matter whether the government does it or we do it out of our pocket.
Yeah.
The taxpayer's going to pay
Yeah,
for it.
taxpayer pays for it. But I think the important point to highlight is the degree to which this is an incredibly, unconscionably wasteful venture. And I think we should be reminded the serious nature of what is implied by being wasteful, right, in our tradition, and actually the squandering, right, or wastefulness is a quality that is most closely associated with shaitan, with Iblis. And you'll see it's Satan, Lucifer, the devil.
That's a moral issue.
Right. Deeply. So just something to keep in mind. But again, I always appreciate you being here, Mr. Dan. This is one of our ride or dies. Like, full stop. So definitely appreciate you, Mr. Dan. Thank you for being here. City. Well, Alex, I'm too loud.
My name is Mohib. I guess I'm originally from Karachi, Pakistan, but lived long enough in Seattle that I guess I'm from Seattle at this point. Why am I here? As someone who enjoys consuming food, I try to be conscious about what I'm eating, where it's coming from. To the extent that I probably 90% of what I eat and my family eats is either growing in my garden or I'm buying it locally at a farmer's market. If it's not in season, I'm not eating it.
Yeah. So you would actually be quite rare in that regard, unfortunately.
My kid's 2.5, and
Yeah.
it's a tough conversation when he wants like a strawberry in December.
Right.
But been able to convince him so far to kind of stay away.
Mabruk.
He thinks about things in the same way.
Inshallah. That's good.
But yeah, with that in mind, I think that just that, and then all the things that you were talking about food waste that we have in this country and in this world is just something that I'm very concerned about too.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things to mention, just for more context, is that going forward, this is going to be a continually contentious issue, to where now, several years ago, there have been universities that have done what they call a food price index, and they've connected the price of food to the likelihood of there being, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, unrest, right? Some kind of socio-political, socio-economic unrest in different parts of the globe. And they very closely correlated, again, the price of food to, again, this likelihood that unrest is going to break out. And there is a threshold.
Right?
I'm sorry?
Food riots.
Yeah, food riots, exactly. So if you go, so in very recent history, 2008, 2011, Arab Spring, right, happened actually against the backdrop of the food price rises of 2011. And now we're seeing very similar dynamics now, again, with the advent of the war in Ukraine, right? So again, you were able to see the degree to which you live in a world that is increasingly more and more fragile and precarious, again, because we no longer are either people, individuals, or communities that are involved in the provisioning of our lives, right? And so, and we're imperiled by that, right? It's not a small thing. That's right. So again, something else to think about. Thank you for being here, Muib. Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Farhan. I'm here tonight for a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm here most immediately because I want to get involved. I actually texted Sam like several times. A month ago, Sam was like, "Hey, I got some food volunteer opportunities for you." He
Hey,
hasn't
you
texted me back, so.
Golly, man. Wow. Shots fired. Shots fired.
My passion to help is so great.
Tell you, alhamdulillah. You like snapping off some hot ones over here, man. Woo. That hurt me.
I've been waiting for a while, man. Other reasons why I'm here is like everything in life makes me anxious, but I understand feeding and that instinct is something that we were raised with. But so you speak of Arab Spring. I used to be able to during Al Jazeera back in Arab Spring.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was reporting on prior to that was food insecurity caused, like in Africa and surrounding areas,
Hey,
caused by investments from rich Muslim countries.
No, tamamen. No.
So it was like, so I think it's been just whether, one of my first jobs was being a line cook like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's just doing that was the happiest thing I've ever had. So part of it's like, however I can help, I can do a lot of random stuff. I can, so.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think, going back to probably the noughts into the kind of teens, the story then was the whole food grab thing, the land grab thing. Sorry, land grab,
Right.
the land grab phenomenon.
Ended up being for food and then
Exactly.
there, and to be in a country like that.
Right.
Is also
Right,
So I
exactly.
think there's just a lot of angles that it's hit me from.
Sure.
But so I've been here now for a year. This is, his older brother, but he's like in his shadow right now, which is great. So been here for a year, and now I'm like, really starting to feel like this feels like home. We grew up in North Carolina.
Okay.
So it's starting to feel like home, and yeah, I just want to feel like I'm here to work, so.
All right, it's a quote. Y'all, we got witnesses. Yep, yeah, you need to. All right, duly noted.
I got time.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, plenty, no excuses.
Alhamdulillah. That's what I like to hear. Plenty of time, no excuses. Be careful. Chef T, actually also take note, my brother.
Regret the no excuses part.
No, I appreciate you being here.
Put him on our.
No, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. Don't worry. We'll talk offline.
You'll get work.
He'll get work.
So everybody, I'm the younger brother, also from North Carolina. I've been here about 8 years now. My interest in coming here, anytime I see Chef Tariq's name, it grabs my eye, and I'm drawn to food conversations.
Alhamdulillah.
I work in medicine at a community health center in Kent, and so the front face of I don't watch the news anymore because the news comes to my front door. Whether it's refugees or
Yeah, man.
cropping from the southern border, or
Yeah,
whatever
man.
it may be, everything's right there.
There you go.
And front and center with food, you name it, you see it.
Yeah.
And so, hoping to connect dots at some point. I have 2 kids, and so I think I've been trying to focus inwardly, but trying to, now with COVID situation changing, try to look more outwardly and hopefully connect dots and utilize the connection with community I have in Kent, and then once that's energy and hopefully develop some kind of way to serve them.
Alhamdulillah. No, and I think it's really important to make very clear the fact that a lot of what we're talking about isn't just about, well, number one, the production of the provisioning, but again, we have to look further down the line, like in terms of what are the implications that are attached to, again, having good food available to us or not available to us. And in many cases, it ends up eventually manifesting in some kind of public health or public safety problem.
And another thing I see is like, I think there's like one of the biggest diseases, at least of this country, is like loneliness and isolation.
Hey, well,
And so
tamam.
what is the missing thing between the person that makes the food and is losing is not talking to the person that needs it. And
Yeah.
so if I can serve as a connection, or we can serve as a connection, that is the disease, I think, more than anything else right now.
Tamamen.
And you see that in impacting health. And like, I think half of it's just like people don't talk. Like,
Yeah.
People don't meet, people don't show up in
Yeah.
community. And
Yeah.
if they knew, okay, this person has food, yeah, I can get it, but it just doesn't happen, and it's happening. That's only gonna get worse with the way society's going.
Well, again, the fact that, the past 2 years have been dealing with, 2+ years been dealing with this pandemic situation. I mean, all of those issues, were presented to us front and center.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, so, we saw plenty of the cracks, became very, very, very obvious. So I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for being here. Alaikum. Please. Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Khadija. Where am I from? I was born in Kenya and I moved to the U.S. when I was a teenager, and I've spent over the past 20 years living in the U.S., Seattle almost 10 years. What do? I work at Harborview Medical Center. I'm a medical assistant. Back in the day, in my younger, more naive days, I studied economics.
That's a quote. In my younger, more naive days, I studied economics. That's great.
The minute I said
Shot fired.
is the real thing, I'm like, no, well, technically, there's enough for everyone.
Thank you.
And so, why am I here? Why do I think I'm here? I don't think. I want to be a change agent, and I want to do it in my own backyard.
Inshallah. Thank you for being here. Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Myra. I'm originally from Southern California. I came up here to go to UW for graduate school. And I'm also here just echoing some of the feelings of, the caring about this home that we have and wanting, and caring about like every living being in here and wanting to ensure that we bring about justice and, the basic necessities, water, food, shelter. Definitely one of the most pressing things is also just the food waste and it not being distributed correctly. Just in the interest of capital and helping, the select few get richer and wealthy and extracting from the global south. And I feel like it, just everything's connected, and definitely starting in the community and grassroots level can lead to like higher up changes. Like setting the example can set about policies and set about wider state changes and country-wide changes, and be an agent of change as well.
But that phrase that you just mentioned, like setting the example.
Yeah.
There it is. Right, setting the example. Right. And again, it's being able to move from talking about it to being about it, and that's hopefully what we're doing here. So thank you for being here. Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Emily. I'm originally from Connecticut. Spent some years in Denver and moved to Seattle just under a year ago. So still pretty new relatively, and just I'm here and hopefully to find some community, find like-minded people, and hopefully to combat some of the hopelessness that it seems like the trajectory of our current affairs and food scarcity and everything. There's like soil scarcity, water scarcity. Everything is just like falling apart, and I would like to be part of the solution, inshallah, to move us to a more sustainable track.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for being here. Wa alaikum salam. that's a big one. Aywa. No, Tamamin, that's, yeah.
Would you repeat the big one, please?
No, the sister was mentioning that, you know, she's has family in East Africa, again, where she originates, and she kind of got to the point where in being here, and again, earning money here and living here, but you would send quite a bit back home. But then I would dare say you had a bit of a dilemma because you're in a place where, I mean, you live here, you're part of this community, and yet there are all of these issues and challenges and problems here. But I guess for whatever reason, at that point, you didn't really feel like it had anything to do with you, had any connection to it, right? And again, this goes back to the point that I made earlier about, you know, I was just talking about this earlier. You know, these are my people, right? And this is where I'm from. I'm not from Washington, but I mean I'm an American, right? So in that sense, these are my people, and I'm concerned, right, about the people that I come from. These are my kaum, right? And I think everyone is concerned about the folks that they come from and about the people that they live amongst. And ultimately, we show the degree to which we care and our sincere claim to caring is made evident by the degree to which we engage the people and the place in which we find ourselves. And then that's when people know whether or not you really care. Right? So I think that, and that's a very important point that you just highlighted. So I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for being here. You want to speak, CD? Assalamu alaikum.
My name is Safi. I've been living in Seattle pretty much of my life, so I would say that, I guess I'm from Seattle, but my family is originally from Cambodia, Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
I'm here because I used to attend Wasat frequently in the past, and then COVID happened and I stopped. And recently I just had this feeling of like wanting to join it again. So there's nothing really deep. but actually listening to what everyone has been saying, it got me to think about myself, and this is coming from almost like a selfish perspective, but I do want to like be able to live a lifestyle that's more like self-sustaining, like growing my own food and stuff. That's something that I've had this vision of that lifestyle for a long time. It's just not implemented. So when everyone is talking about food waste and such, it really did resonate with me.
Yeah. And
even like, you know, like when we talk about things outside of food, like for example, when I walk into my bedroom, I see all the stuff in there, and then I think to myself, like, why?
Like, how did this happen? Like, I don't even understand. I don't even know how this stuff even got here. Like that kind. Yeah, no, I understand. I definitely understand what that's about. Yeah. No, but I appreciate you being here. Thank you. And we got food. That too. So I just want to make sure that doesn't, that's not missed. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. My name is Ahmed. I'm also here for the food. And the community.
And the community. Alhamdulillah. Appreciate you mentioning that.
And yeah, I work with Wasat, and I'm an artist. I'm a writer. And amongst the other reasons that I'm here, a hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that if you're planting a sapling, just a baby tree, and the end of time comes, keep planting.
There you
go. And that's a beautiful thing, because I think, like Sidi Rhamis said, there's something freeing in doing what is good without even being attached to the results.
There you are.
Because it is what is right and what is good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I echo that we could all, when we look at, I also don't watch the news anymore. But I think, we can, there's a level, there's a unit of looking at the world that's severely disempowering.
There you are.
Because problems can be so much bigger than us as little individuals. But then there's a unit of looking at it which is empowering. And that, of course, must be the right way to look at it.
There you are.
Which is that, like, no, I have a big impact on my neighbor,
There you
on my nieces,
are.
on my community. Right? I could make their lives terrible if I wanted to.
This is true indeed.
Or I could make it better. So
Yeah.
I think that's really beautiful. Also, when we think of the great ones of the past, from Jesus only had 12 disciples.
There you are.
Prophet Muhammad, peace
So
and
it's enough.
blessings be upon him, from the great teachers and saintly ones of the past, of all times and places, they would just speak to those around them. In
Mhm.
fact, the only thing that ever has changed the world is a few people
Mm-hmm.
that had good intentions. And so I think if we can model some type of beauty and some selflessness and some altruism and some love and some breaking down of barriers,
There you are.
then we can model it on a global level. And even if not, we'll make our lives better.
And
those around.
there it is. Yeah.
So I think that, and then I think, I'm happy to be here with Brother Rhamis, as well as Chef Tarek, because they're two people that are, implementing this in community and connecting different people and different segments of society and different organizations. So I think we already, with very few resources, there's a lot that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm interested in learning more. And then lastly, I'll just say, I think these conversations are important because ideas have consequences.
There you are.
How we see the world is related to how we see each other and how we see ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of these crises are interrelated.
Tamam.
Right? The ecological crisis is a spiritual crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And when we heal ourselves like that, then we can heal.
Tamam. Tamam. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for being here, Sidi. Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Kamal, and I work for Wasat as well. It's amazing to see everyone here. There's so much to reflect on every single person's thoughts and what you all shared. I have learned a lot from Rhamis. MashaAllah, he's my teacher, so is Ahmed and everybody at Wasat, and all of you. This discussion actually hit home for me because I actually I lived in Detroit and I moved here when I was 11. There's a city called Hamtramck.
Hamtramck.
That's how you say it.
That's right.
That's how you rep it.
She said, not only is that how you say it, it's also how you rep it. That is a D girl right there. She said Hamtramck.
And so I moved here when I was 11, so what a difference I saw in education and living in Hamtramck, sister city of Detroit. The closest place to get food was the liquor store, and after that McDonald's. and then I felt like it took 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get actual fresh vegetables. It was really a lived experience, and I'm sure many others who may have experienced it here. So then I came to Seattle to realize that the grocery store is so close, and then the education system was different. And alhamdulillah, I actually had experience of going to the Amazon jungle to see how diverse and beautiful it was, and also to see how people were stripping land in the Amazon just to grow banana trees because of the demand. And then I come and thinking about now how much, I just think about how many bananas see that, mashallah, us coming together makes a difference, and all of it really is hard work.
Mm.
So I'm excited to see where we all will go with this, inshallah.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Thanks for being here. Alhamdulillah.
For a second, you were saying Bezos has a jungle. And I was like,
Probably does.
So that's part of the problem.
It's a similar metaphor.
Yeah.
Anyway.
right? And I was like, you got to go there?
Bezos has a jungle. That's great. Yeah, the Bezos jungle. Last but certainly not least is this gentleman. Would you be so kind as to tell everybody who you are and give us some a rundown of your history and what it is that you do and just the whole shebang-a-bang, please. Come on, bro. No. You're amongst friends and family. There's no reason for you to be nervous.
Everyone, how are we doing?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, my name is Mubarak Tariq Abdullah.
Wait a minute, I didn't know that. That was your first name?
Yeah.
La ilaha illallah. Mubarak Tariq Abdullah.
Well,
La ilaha illallah.
We can get into that another time.
Bro, I'm calling you Mubarak from now on. You shouldn't have told me that.
I don't like my name being destroyed. Call me by my middle name.
No, I feel you. I go by my middle name.
See, and it's
honestly,
it's just it's been easier.
Yeah, where you see.
Dissertation on my first name. Yes, I'm from Seattle. My family is, my dad was from North Carolina, mom was from Louisiana. They migrated here. I'm the oldest of four. I was homeschooled by my mom. My dad was a very important man in the Central District, the Black community, as well as the Muslim community up north at the masjid. I think my dad was just known for whenever there was a problem, my dad could come in and knew how to handle something and make things quote unquote right.
He was a fixer.
He was a fixer, yes. He passed when I was 19 due to liver cancer. So that was a very interesting time for me, trying to figure out how am I going to fill his shoes? And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. That was my moment in life of just like what to do. I got into cooking and fell in love with it right away. And it just felt right. It just felt the idea of making something and putting a smile on someone's face, all because of just what you put into the plate and seeing the expression come out through their face was just something that I knew that was my thing. And so I did a few years here, decided to go to LA in '99. Just felt like Seattle wasn't the market for me professionally, how I wanted to see food. I did 10 years in LA. And honestly, that's where I started teaching kids teach kids cooking. And that's where I had a moment in my life where I just said I wanted to do more than just be on the line and cook some food and call it a day. I wanted to, if I have these tools, who's gonna get these tools?
Who's gonna get these hands?
You know?
not like this though. It's these hands, not these hands. Oh man, this guy's good.
So 2001, I walked into Robertson Community Center, which was like 3 blocks away from my house. And I just said, hey, I want to teach kids cooking. And they were like, okay. They showed me the kitchen. It was horrible. It was beat up. I cleaned it up, spent a month in some chains, put signs up, did everything. Summer camp came. I had 22 students come to my table. And it's the first thing that went through my mind is how am I going to teach all these kids? And during that time, each year, I started figuring out my capacity and seeing who was drawn to what. And I knew okay, the vision was there. This is what I want to do. But also living in LA, the homeless situation was also a thing. And I didn't have the capacity at the time to do it there, so I came back home. And I decided, you know what? Let me take a break. Went to Europe, Spain, Portugal, Egypt, Italy by myself, and literally had, I guess, like a self-reflecting journey on my own, figuring out what am I gonna do moving forward. And I met a lot of amazing individuals. I spent a lot of time with a lot of random elders, and I mean like 70, 80, 90-year-old elders. And I'm 28, 29 years old, and I'm still trying to figure out why am I being drawn to these elders. And they just gave me a lot of just quote unquote game.
I was about to say, you the word right out of my brain. Like they gave you some game.
And I came back like energized, really, really energized. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm gonna start teaching kids cooking, and I'm gonna get my food game up to point. And then when my food game's right, I'm gonna go do my own thing. I did my last stint at Serafina and Chiquetti, where I was able to express my love for food, spices, and that pretty much set me up for what I wanted to do, and that's where pretty much Feed the People came about. I don't know, I think as professional cooks, this is what we do, right? We feed folks anyways, but I think community members looked at it in a way where like, you're always feeding someone, and I pretty much, quote unquote, rode with that tagline, and just been at it, just teaching, telling these kids that they can do this, and it doesn't have to be about a kitchen. It doesn't have to be about a caterer. It could be whatever you want to use food as. And feed the slogan itself doesn't always have to be about food. It could be through speech. It could be through medicine. It can be through spirituality. There's different ways of how you can interpret the slogan. And that's all I really wanted folks to just really look at it that way. And so I've been at it, teaching little rascals. I've been in a lot of these kids' lives pretty much since they were born. There's kids now that are literally graduating from high school, and I'm like, I remember when you were hanging out with me, you're like this, and now I'm looking up to you literally. And so that's how much of an impact for me I feel like it's important. See, I'm not a parent, but I'm a big uncle, I guess. And so sometimes some of us are just not meant for, are not supposed to have family life. Maybe it's the other way around, and I'm fine with that. I have no problem saying where my position is. I feel like if anyone doesn't have children, I think you need to spend time with children in your life. That should be a responsibility. It should be humanly responsibility to do those things. And so I just feel like I'm gonna stay in these kids' lives until I can't do it anymore. Sure enough, COVID hit, and a group of chefs came together. We decided to say, what are we gonna do? I mean, literally, a week prior, had a pop-up, whole bunch of friends came out, we had a good time. Week later, we're into COVID, and we literally just shifted everything in our lives. The 8 of us just shifted our lives. We just squashed everything that we were gonna do, and it was just time. It was just like what people didn't know what to do. It was the first time Seattle experienced a crisis. And so, you know what? We're just going to take our brands and we're going to set up kitchens in different areas and we're going to provide meals. But being in this industry for a long time, from 1-star to 4-star, I have seen food on every level. And waste is very different at this level compared to this level. Very little waste up here, a lot of waste down here. And it's all about access. It's all about sourcing. It's all about the best ingredients. But then once you leave that arena and you really see what it's like, our waste here is really, yeah, I've seen it so many different levels. I mean, and during that time, for a year and a half, every menu that was created at our kitchen was comprised of food donated from supposedly expired shelf life ingredients from various grocery stores that are collected by the Emergency Feeding Program, which is an all-black organization located in Renton. They've been at it since '77, and all they do is just 6 days a week. They just collect and collect dairy, non-dairy, pet food, cat food, you name it. And they box it up and they try to get it out. And at the same time, they are still having to throw stuff away because they can't get it out enough, which goes to show you it's not them not doing the work, it's the overproducing.
Yep.
Folks don't really, I watch more dairy go away during that time that it's obvious that folks don't really like milk like that anymore. And we're just talking milk. Like we don't really consume like that. I think our way of consumption has completely changed. I think our bodies are different. I think we've chose to look at our bodies differently. We work out differently. We eat better. So we're consuming less. But one thing I wanted to do was take the waste and turn it into meals. We did 14,000 meals in a year and a half with various volunteers. Young ones as young as 15 all the way up to grandma age, taking a little time and coming in and doing their thing. And I don't know, I was just telling them,
on the way, I want you to actually tell them about what you were talking to me about when I picked you up before coming over here.
It's hard. The emotions collected during that time. You know, not seeing our families for that year purposely because we didn't want to take anyone at risk getting sick. And the fact that people can't even get a decent meal, man. So it's exhausting. But it's very easy for someone to press a heart digitally, to randomly give you a hug, to, you know what I'm saying? And, but not even knowing that we all have our own lives too. I have 2 nephews that I want to spend more time with. You know, I would like to do something for myself, truly for myself and for my family. And of late, I stopped it in November because physically, mentally, couldn't do it. I was tired and I stopped teaching. I damn near wanted to retire from cooking. And because I just felt like there isn't pure compassion, there isn't clear spirituality, despite your choice of spirituality, there isn't a true care of just the idea of someone just getting a basic meal. Because in reality, humanly, it should make sense for you to take time, even if no one's asking you to do an 8-hour day. I'm saying just go to your house, put 5 meals in a box, and go give it to somebody. We are all grateful to have roof over our heads, some decent clothes, take care of our kids. And it's not in this room that's not doing the work. Trust me. It's not. It's folks that are up there that keep saying, here, doggy bone treats of money. We love your work. Or, you know, y'all got it. But we also want to have lives. But at the end of the day, you know there's an issue. Yeah. Let's attack the issue. I'm tired of the every 2 weeks or every month of an article of food waste or education issues. Our kids are not graduating. Well, at the end of the day, y'all have the financial resources for us to do the work.
Yes.
So let us do the work without the tax. I'm not trying to pay it back. I want to just do the work. And and some days, honestly, between accountability and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then honestly pinning out certain individuals to make it feel like this is the only person doing the work. You're creating divide. Press, I don't care. Stay out of my face. And that's the honest truth. I had to sit with that. Because, ego be hitting. Real. Because, you figure your ego is a way to, draw them in. Yeah. But also at the same time, you're like, this is great. Yeah. But also it's like, that's not the goal. The goal is to make sure folks get food, man. And so it's just like, instead of just pinpointing one person or two people to do the work, how about all the folks that are doing the work, even if it's only 2 hours?
Yeah.
I mean, I took 6 months off. I've been working out every day, stretching, doing clear, good work at my house. I got a big garden at my crib, and I'm enjoying that. I'm 3 weeks into this community kitchen, and I'm stressed out like crazy right now. I can't get people to sign up.
Right,
I got it all set up to where you can come in, do the work, 2 hours, 4 hours. We don't need a lot. Come in. I can't even get basic people to just come in and do the work. And I'm already like, am I back at this again?
Right,
I'm not doing this.
Which is around the time that I met you. Is that you were in the middle of that, taking that sabbatical. And Sam actually was the one that said, you need to talk to Jeff Target. I was kept on trying to call this cat, like, why can't I get a hold of him? Like, why isn't he available? Like, and then once finding out about the burden that you were carrying and having to soldier through that struggle and trying to carry this load, yourself. And I think this is another reason why having these conversations is important, is because we need a community to coalesce around these kinds of efforts.
Our children are looking at us, people, and I'm not saying y'all know this already, but our children are looking at us as adults of like, figure it out, please, or we're just gonna continue having this conversation of like, how come society's not getting it right? How come society's not getting it right? And we need to get it right for our children so they can actually take this recipe that we set up for them to put it into a bigger pot and make a bigger meal. I'm into analogies, singing with these old folks, man. Got me. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's just really just comes down to the fact of just like, these munchkins are watching very closely. I spend more time, like I was saying, Brother Nan, you have no idea. This has been the best 3 weeks of my life right now. I spend more time with children and adults because I can't deal with them. And seeing kids for the first time these last 3 weeks has been the most uplifting thing for me. Because they know that I'm trying to do something for them so they can take it, flip the script, and make it into something even grander.
They haven't been polluted yet.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it for me has just been teaching myself I have to better my foundation, like my own foundation, like so I can have the balance and not up here balling like I shouldn't be balling about an issue there should be no reason to. But it just goes to show you like how much is important for more of us to be involved so we don't have to have these broken record conversations.
That's absolutely.
And this is why I was just like sitting in that conversation. I was with Sam. I was like, bro, I don't want to hear anything. I already know what they're gonna say, man. I'm not gonna deal with it. And I was just like, thank God for these brothers. Like I really thank these brothers for honestly, because they are seriously keeping me sane through some of these days. Because data analysis is not getting us nowhere, people. I'm being real with you. It's not.
Sorry to
articles is not working. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry about that.
That woman right there can make some amazing food. Yes, I'm talking about you. Yes, I'm talking about you. She makes amazing food. There's people here that can cook. The city needs to realize we are all available. Give us that money so we can get our facility, so we can get the job done. So there can be other things to be doing besides. Once they get a good meal, that means spirituality can get checked. That means their mind can get checked. That means their body can get checked. That means better individuals. And let the kids see that. They'll take that recipe and turn that individual so they don't even have to go down that route. And that's really all I got. I just...
I'm dropping this mic right now. I'm kidding. But actually, with that said, and I think this is where we can shift from the gab to the grub. Let's see about getting into some of this food, and then we can continue the conversation. And I think the important thing to take from what Chef Tariq had related is the need again for more of us to get involved. So I would suggest speaking to this gem of a gentleman to find out how you can be of help to him and what he's currently doing. Now, especially with the community kitchen, we 2 days a week. He's over at the Tilth Alliance in Rainier Beach, preparing meals Mondays and Tuesdays, 10 to 4. Yesterday, I just delivered 150 meals that he had made over there. We can always use folks, either helping them out in the kitchen or helping us get the food distributed. So
we do no pork at all,
right.
None whatsoever. Yesterday it was a split between me
right and the vegan, yeah.
So they get balanced meals, like
you get
no Doritos,
you get country and Western.
You're not getting any of that. Like there was couscous,
sorry,
collard green pesto,
right.
tandoori masala jackfruit. You know what I mean? Like there's meals, like wholesome meals. So,
oh, I have to tell you, the lady over at the Georgetown Tiny House Village, and this was like weeks ago when we brought this by, she was raving about that limeade watermelon kombucha. She was like, do you have any more of that? I swear to God, that was the first thing she hit me with when I dropped that stuff off yesterday.
And that's all donated food. That's at the warehouse. Like I'm still with them again.
Yeah.
I'm staying with them. There's no reason to not leave them. And it's food not going to waste.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
But again, there's a conversation to be had, inshallah, while we partake of this wonderful food that's been provided to us by both Chef Tariq and then another one of our collaborators, Mugi from Fresh Eats. So,
So what do we have? We have bowls,
yeah.
and then we have
Yeah, so we have bowls here, and then we have, what did you bring to
So we got some vegan meat. We got a coconut milk cheese sauce with harissa spice. There's some fresh herbs. There's a cumin spice carrot soup, and there's chips. So you can basically make nachos. Completely vegan, no nuts on either of the dishes. So dig in.
And we have the two choices as far as the bowls are concerned. He did I think he did a black eyed peas, like some veggie bowl, and then the other one, he did a halal jerk chicken. Say word, say what? Yeah, halal jerk chicken. So, this is what Wednesdays are going to be like. So check the calendar. Wednesdays booked, 6:30 to 9, inshallah. So let us partake and continue the conversation.